Welcome to the program. You're with Arise News in Nigeria's capital, Abuja. Ahead over the next 30 minutes, all the global headlines you need to know about. You're watching Arise News now with me, Folake Adesugba. And our top stories, US President Donald Trump is setting a crackdown on migrants with plans to deny asylum to migrants who try to enter the US illegally. Plus, Google employees around the world staged walkouts to protest what they say is a workplace culture that has turned a blind eye to sexual harassment and discrimination. And in sport, Brahim Diaz double sends Blues into last 8 of EFL Cup, but Kevin De Bruyne limps off. Our top story, Donald Trump has also announced that he wants to limit claims for illegal border crosses. The president described the people in migrant caravans as not legitimate asylum seekers. Trump's plans to deny asylum to migrants who try to enter the U.S. between ports of entry, a legally questionable move that was part of his election season barrage of actions aimed at caravans heading towards the border.
Allow itself to be overwhelmed by uncontrolled masses of people rushing their border. That's what's happening. They are rushing our border. They're coming up, and even before you get to the caravan, just on a daily basis, people coming in. And it's a very bad thing for our country. It's sad in many ways, but it's a very bad thing for a country. And again, costs us billions and billions and billions of dollars a year. And I will therefore take every lawful action at my disposal to address this crisis. And that's what we're doing. The United States military, great people. My administration is finalizing a plan to end the rampant abuse of our asylum system. It's abused. To halt a dangerous influx and to establish control over America's sovereign borders. Got borders. And once that control is set and standardized and made very strong, including the building of the wall, which we've already started, $1.6 billion spent last year, $1.6 billion this year. We have another 1.6 that will be coming, but we want to build it at one time. All it does is turn people in a different direction if you don't. We want to build it at one time. Under this plan, the illegal aliens will no longer get a free pass into our country by lodging meritless claims in seeking asylum. Instead, migrants seeking asylum will have to present themselves lawfully at a port of entry. So they're going to have to lawfully present themselves at a port of entry. Those who choose to break our laws and enter illegally will no longer be able to use meritless claims to gain automatic admission into our country. We will hold them for a long time if necessary. The only long-term solution to the crisis and the only way to ensure the endurance of our nation as a sovereign country is for Congress to overcome open borders obstruction. That's exactly what it is. It's open borders obstruction. No votes. You can come up with the greatest border plan, the greatest immigration plan. You won't get one vote from a Democrat. They have terrible policy. In many cases, they're terrible politicians. But the one thing I give them great credit for, they vote as a bloc. They stick together. And we will end catch and release. We're not releasing any longer. We also must finish the job that we started by being strong at the border. When we're strong at the border, people will turn away and they won't bother. You will see in a year from now, or in certainly a period of time from now, despite our very good economy, which some of them come for that, I can't blame them for that. You have to do it legally. But you will see that the numbers of people trying to get in will be greatly reduced. But that can only happen if we're strong at the border. And the southern border is a big problem. And it's a tremendous problem for drugs pouring in and destroying our youth and really destroying the fabric of our country. There's never been a drug problem like we have today. And as I said, much of it comes from the southern borders. and we've done a great job with the laws that we have. We're moving in tremendous numbers of people to get out the MS-13 gangs and other gangs that illegally come into our country.
Donald Trump also told reporters that he told the U.S. military mobilizing at the southwest border that if migrants try to throw rocks at them, the troops should act as though the rocks are firearms.
Anybody throwing stones, rocks, like they did to Mexico and the Mexican military, Mexican police, where they badly hurt police and soldiers of Mexico, we will consider that a firearm. Because there's not much difference when you get hit in the face with a rock, which, as you know, it was very violent a few days ago, very, very violent. That break-in, it was a break-in of a country. They broke into Mexico. There's nothing political about a caravan of thousands of people, and now others forming, pouring up into our country. We have no idea who they are. All we know is they're pretty tough people when they can blast through the Mexican military and Mexican police. They're pretty tough people. Even Mexico said, wow, these are tough people. I don't want them in our country. And women don't want them in our country. Women want security. Well, that's okay. I mean, look, I was on Oprah's last week of her show. Oprah liked me very much. I've always liked Oprah. You know, Oprah's good, but the woman that she's supporting is not qualified to be the governor of Georgia by any stretch of the imagination.
Meanwhile, U.S. troops from Fort Campbell, Kentucky have arrived in southern Arizona to assist Border Patrol agents with an effort to prevent the caravan of migrants now in Mexico from entering the U.S. The video released by the Defense Department shows soldiers and equipment arriving in a C-17 Globemaster third plane. The arrival is part of the 7,000 U.S. troop deployment for the southern border. Other troops have arrived in Texas and are first to actually travel to the border to assist U.S. Border Control agents. The United States has imposed new sanctions on Venezuela and Cuba and promised additional penalties against Nicaragua as the Trump administration laid out a hardline policy toward countries the White House branded a troika of tyranny. U.S. National Security Advisor John Bolton condemned what he called the destructive forces of oppression, socialism, and totalitarianism. The new Venezuela sanctions target the country's gold sector, prohibiting U.S. citizens and entities from financial involvement in the trade.
In Cuba, Venezuela, and Nicaragua, we see the perils of poisonous ideologies left unchecked and the dangers of domination and suppression. This afternoon, I'm here to deliver a clear message from the President of the United States on our policy toward these three regimes. Under this administration, we will no longer appease dictators and despots near our shores. In Cuba, a brutal dictatorship under the facade of a new figurehead continues to frustrate the democratic aspirations and jail and torture opponents. In Venezuela and Nicaragua, desperate autocratic leaders, hell-bent on maintaining their grip on power, have joined their Cuban counterparts in the same oppressive behavior of unjust imprisonment, torture, and murder. This troika of tyranny, this triangle of terror stretching from Havana to Caracas to Managua, is the cause of immense human suffering. Under President Trump, the United States is taking direct action against all three regimes to defend the rule of law, liberty, and basic human decency in our region. As the President has repeatedly made clear, America's security and prosperity benefits when freedom thrives near our shores. Under our approach, the United States is enforcing U.S. law to maintain sanctions until, among other things, all political prisoners are freed, freedoms of assembly and expression are respected, all political parties are legalized, and free and internationally supervised elections are scheduled. Today, I'm proud to share that President Trump has signed a new executive order to impose tough new sanctions against Venezuela. The new sanctions will target networks operating within corrupt Venezuelan economic sectors and deny them access to stolen wealth. Most immediately, the new sanctions will prevent U.S. persons from engaging with actors and networks complicit in corrupt or deceptive transactions in the Venezuelan gold sector.
In what's been described as an unexpected turn of events, Robert Bowers, the alleged gunman accused of killing 11 Jewish worshippers at a Pittsburgh synagogue, has pleaded not guilty. Local media outlets are reporting that the suspect is requesting a jury trial. He faces 44 counts of murder, hate crimes, obstructing religious practices, and other crimes. Prosecutors are seeking the death penalty. The development comes as the community continues to mourn the victims of the attack on the Tree of Life synagogue. It's the worst anti-Semitic incident in U.S. history. Meanwhile, a local Jewish leader has told the Associated Press of how a shocked community is trying to give the victims of the synagogue attack in Pittsburgh a respectful farewell. Judaism asks the living to take special care of the dead, whatever the circumstances. But the scale of the violence in Pittsburgh at the Tree of Life synagogue has placed an extraordinary responsibility on those dedicated to this work, all volunteers. One of the local members, Rabbi Eliezer Adman, is also a member of Israel-based Zaka International.
According to the Jewish law, we're supposed to have every single thing that get in touch with the body during the time of the shooting, time of the death, supposed to be buried with the body. So after removing the body, usually our custom is to come and clean up whatever we can, all blood, etc., and everything, whatever we can, just to bury everything the respect way, to give these people the respect they need. I tell you the truth, Saturday night was very tough. I came home and I just started crying. It was very hard. Sorry. I've been in a lot of sin, but these people you know very well. This person actually looks like he was make sure they cannot run away anymore, and they're not injured, they're dead. And it was very hard to see people that come in Saturday morning to the peaceful place, Bet Midrash, Shul, and get connection with God. And the same moment they get a connection with God, an evil person walk in and say guys, just because you're Jewish, I'm going to kill you. But it's important for them to know. It's important for people to know what exactly are required to do, what exactly the Jewish law what us, and what people obligate and can do. And I'm very happy if my kids grow in this way and my students grow in this way. And with the idea, I would like to help. Not everyone can handle it, but if you can handle it and you do it, it's amazing. In Hebrew it's called chesed shel emet. It's like kindness that never pay back, like a truthful kindness, because these people cannot pay back to you, cannot say thank you.
Time now for a short break, but there's still plenty more ahead, so please do stay with us.
As a fashion writer, I know how quickly trends are created and changed. In business, it's no different. To stay ahead, I needed a plan flexible enough to meet my changing communication needs. More Business 2.0 didn't just give me voice and data in one package. I got a whole lot more. With More Business, setting up my website was no problem. But I'm not just a fashion writer. I also own a home decor store before I decided to open an accessory store. With my customized More Business plan, managing my staff's communication is easy. No matter how frequently they come or they go. With 9mobile's new online self-service this week, I could adapt my plans to include this.
From 2,000 Naira, choose a business bundle, customize your staff's voice and data lines, and enjoy a variety of add-on business services. Dial *200 *5# now to subscribe. More Business.
Nigeria. We are 198 million productive people with over 900,000 square kilometers of fertile land. Nigeria's banking system has emerged strong and resilient from the 2016 crisis, which has enhanced our productivity in agribusiness and manufacturing. Come, Invest in Nigeria's agribusiness, manufacturing, and value-added mining. Enjoy the Central Bank of Nigeria-led initiatives in funding interventions, stabilized exchange rate, friendly capital repatriation regime, and many more. The Central Bank of Nigeria's robust monetary policy and interventions under President Buhari's administration and positioned the economy to target and attain a GDP growth of 6% with a strong and growing external reserves. Come, invest in Nigeria. Nigeria, ready for business.
Welcome back to Arise News Now. I'm live from Nigeria's capital, Abuja, and I'm Folake Adesugba. Now, the Eiffel Tower in Paris went dark as a part of a demonstration to protect press freedom in the aftermath of the killing of Jamal Khashoggi. The Reporters Without Borders group organized the protest in the French capital and highlighted the cases of murdered journalists around the world. It has been a month since Saudi writer Khashoggi was killed inside the Saudi consulate in Istanbul. Christophe Deloire, Secretary General of Reporters Without Borders, demanded the whole truth on what happened to the former Washington Post columnist.
Jamal Khashoggi was killed exactly 1 month ago in the Saudi Arabian consulate in Istanbul. We demand the whole truth on his killing. We demand for this because we do not trust the Saudi Arabian justice, or even we know what the Turkish justice is able to do with journalists. So what we demand is an international investigation that should be launched by the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres. And we demand to the governments that are able to exercise pressure on Saudi Arabia to maintain and even increase this pressure so that press freedom can be introduced in Saudi Arabia on the more than 20 journalists that are arbitrarily detained in Saudi Arabia are released.
And Britain's Prince Charles is visiting Gambia for the first time since the African country rejoined the Commonwealth. Prince Charles and his wife Camilla paid a visit to the Commonwealth War Graves Cemetery in Banjul during the official visit where Charles laid a wreath of poppies at the Fallen War Heroes Memorial. Earlier, Gambian President Adama Barrow led a welcome ceremony for the British royal in Banjul on Thursday. The prince spoke at the ceremony and said the two countries could once again work together to defend their shared Commonwealth values. Charles and his wife Camilla, the Duchess of Cornwall, arrived in Gambia on Wednesday to begin a 3-day visit.
The recent decision by the Gambia to rejoin the Commonwealth is ample testimony of my government's readiness to enhance international cooperation. To this end, I call on the Commonwealth family to stand by us, accompany us, and enhance its visibility through concrete action and the application of instruments that would build our human resource capacity, our infrastructure, and ensure the effective functioning of our institutions. I also call on the United Kingdom, with whom we have special historical ties, to continue to support us through enhanced trade, investment, and wider economic cooperation. We can only expect that after a long spell of misrule and dictatorship, we overcome the Gambia's isolation from the international community and open a new page for renewed friendship with the kingdom and other friends.
Our visit is an opportunity to celebrate the bonds of friendship between the United Kingdom and the Gambia, the myriad connections between our people, and the many areas in which our two countries cooperate. We are friends and partners, and once again, we are both members of the Commonwealth family of nations, a fact which gives me as much pleasure and pride as I know it does to so many of you. I was delighted to join Her Majesty the Queen in welcoming you, Mr. President, to London in April this year for the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting, and in so doing, to welcome all Gambians back into the Commonwealth. It was, if I may say so, an important milestone on the new road that the Gambia has chosen in turning your back on 22 years of autocratic rule in order to embrace a new beginning. Today, the United Kingdom and the Gambia can once again work together to defend our shared Commonwealth values and to promote democracy, human rights, tolerance, and the rule of law.
Elsewhere, U.S. Senator Lamar Alexander says China and the U.S. are competitors, not adversaries. Despite a spiraling trade war and other tensions, he said mutual respect could get them through current difficulties. Alexander's meeting with Chinese Premier Li Keqiang in Beijing comes amid concerns the U.S.-China trade dispute will drag on, hurting company profits and the overall U.S. economy. Alexander led a delegation of Republican senators and Congress members, all strong supporters of President Donald Trump, who has slapped tariffs on $250 billion of Chinese products and threatened much more.
We hope China and the U.S. will meet each other halfway and work together to control our differences in the spirit of mutual respect and equality. This way, our two countries will be able and have the wisdom to overcome the obstacles and move our relationship forward on an even sounder track.
Your country and our country are competitors, but not adversaries. And we believe that with mutual respect, we can continue to prosper together.
Let's look into the world of business now. U.S. authorities have brought criminal charges against two former Goldman Sachs bankers and Malaysian financier Joe Lau. The Department of Justice charges stem from the long-running scandal at Malaysia's State Development Fund, IMDP. One former Goldman banker admitted to conspiring to launder money and violate a U.S. anti-bribery law. The other banker has been arrested while Mr. Lau remains at large. These are reportedly the first U.S. criminal charges to surface in this scandal, in which authorities say public officials stole billions from the state fund to buy art, property, and other items. The claims of corruption played a role in the election defeat earlier this year of Malaysia's former Prime Minister Najib Razak. And for Google, it's not looking good. They're sure not having a good time, as its staff around the world are staging an unprecedented series of walkouts in protests at the company's treatment of women. The employees are demanding several key changes in how sexual misconduct allegations are dealt with at the firm, including a call to end forced arbitration, a move which would make it possible for victims to sue. Meanwhile, Google's chief executive Sundar Pichai has told staff he supports their right to take the action.
Am I participating?
Yeah, you personally.
Because I have friends, I have family who've been sexually harassed, like, time and time again. This, like, while I personally haven't been harassed, I have seen friends get hurt and, well, have their careers destroyed by this. Not just at Google, but everywhere, including, like, in all forms of tech. And so as a result, we need to show a way to show that time's up. And this is the best way that we can do that.
Let's look at a little bit of lighter news now. In entertainment, Johnny Depp has relisted his Kentucky horse farm with a lower asking price after his portfolio managers rejected an offer for the 42-acre property. The Lexington Herald Leader reports the property, named Betty Sue's Family Farm in honor of Depp's late mother, is now listed for $1.6 million. That's well below the $2.9 million Depp wanted when it was up for auction in August 2017. The top bid at last year's auction was $1.4 million from from radio personality Rick Dees. The farm near Keeneland Racetrack is equipped with a 6,635 square foot home with 6 bedrooms, 6 full bathrooms and a 4-car garage. It has 2 barns with 12 stalls and 5 padlocks. Jolene Hogue is set to play Jolene in Netflix's upcoming anthology series based on Dolly Parton's music. Dolly Parton's Hair String will consist of 8 episodes, each inspired by one of Parton's famous songs. In the Jolene show, Hogue will play a free-spirited with big dreams to leave her small town. Parton will also act in the episode as the owner of a local country bar where Hogue's Jolene is a waitress. Dolly Parton's Heartstrings is scheduled to debut next year. And in the world of sports, Brahim Diaz scored twice as Carabao Cup holders Manchester City eased into the quarterfinals after beating Fulham 2-0 at the Etihad Stadium on Thursday night. Diaz gave Pep Guardiola's side a first-half lead after his shot deflected in off Alexander Mitrovic. The 19-year-old Spaniard doubled his tally when Gabriel Jesus' shot ricocheted off the post into his path, leaving him with a simple finish in the 65th minute. City will face either Leicester or Southampton in the quarterfinals, with that tie to be played on November 27th after it was rearranged, following the helicopter crash that claimed the life of Fox's owner Vijay Srivadhanaprabha. And arch rivals Boca Juniors and River Plate will stage this year's final of the prestigious Copa Libertadores. It will be the first time that 2 Argentinian sides will play for South America's top club trophy. Boca qualified after a 2-2 draw at Palmeiras of Brazil, the most popular club in Argentina, had won the first leg 2-0. Boca crushed Palmeiras coach Luis Felipe Scolari's hopes in Sao Paulo at 18 minutes when Ramon Alvia netted an easy finish in front of goalkeeper Weverton after a low cross from Villa. That forced the Brazilians to win by 3 goals of advantage to qualify. Palmeiras only leveled the score at 52 minutes when Luan smashed the ball into the net after Boca's defense failed to clear a free kick cross from Lucas Lima. Hopes were high at the Allianz Arena when Gustavo Gomes converted a penalty at 60 minutes. But 10 minutes later, Palmeiras villain Dario Benedetto, once more coming from the bench, scored again from the edge of the box. The striker had scored both Boca goals at La Bombonera in the week before in the end of the first leg. Well, that's it for this edition of Arise News Now. Thank you for being a part of the program. Do stay with us on the channel. I'm Folake Adesugba. From me and the entire team here in Abuja and London, that's goodbye for now.